Hey team, happy Sunday. It has been a lovely first weekend of October. I'm starting to get into like fall nesting mode, and I'm changing up like little things in my bathroom and like making little like household improvements because I'm like mentally getting ready to settle down for the winter. But you know, it's been a nice enough, few days that we've still been able to enjoy the weather. So, and a little bit of that mixed transition time period now. Now, while October is normally getting into pumpkin-y kind of recipes or a lot of apple or cranberries, we're gonna kind of pivot a little. So I have a few friends who are actually celiac. So that's not to say that, they have a little bit of gluten in their, tummies rumbling. It's like, no, like a crumb will take them out. And so there's a lot of what I bake that's just full of flour and things that they can't have. So I thought that I would try out a recipe today for mini flourless chocolate cakes. And they're super easy. It's like 3 ingredients, but it's a great recipe to, if you're ever hosting or, if you're giving gifts for anybody of your friends who are celiac. And so I'm going to show you how to do it today, and hopefully they turn out great. And baking music today, we're just sticking with a classic. I love me some Dermot. So that's the soundtrack for today. So kicking this off, we are just going to melt about 8 ounces of chocolate. I'm using semi-sweet, probably sufficient enough. It doesn't need to be overly sweet, with about a 1/2 cup of butter. And we're doing that over a double boiler because it just helps get the mixture really nice and smooth. You can melt them together in a microwave. Just make sure that you're taking out your chocolate after about 30-second increments and stirring it completely so that they get well incorporated. But tomato. And no, there's no tomatoes in this recipe. So while the butter and the chocolate are melting together, I'm gonna separate 4 eggs, so yolks and whites and yolks. And while there were a few recipes that actually had them just staying whole and being mixed up together to get the frothiness, there were a couple that did separate them. And I think it's going to be a better option because there's no flour or any other leavening agents in these cakes. Having the separated egg whites nicely aerated, almost meringued, not quite, but nicely aerated on their own and folded in, is going to help leaven a lot of the cakes and not make them so dense and fudgy. So I'm gonna try that out. Okay, so our chocolate and butter is melted all together and is beautifully silky. So we're pulling it off the heat, and then we're taking our egg yolks. We gave them just a really quick beat to liquefy them. And we're gonna stir it into the chocolate, but we're gonna make sure that we keep stirring the chocolate just so that it's well incorporated. While it's not on the heat anymore, obviously the eggs aren't going to cook, but again, this is going to help kind of temper them as well because the chocolate is still warm. So once you have these fully mixed in, you can leave this off to the side for a sec while we give the egg whites a nice beat. So we beat the egg whites for just a few minutes, and we have some lovely soft peaks. And so we are now going to fold these in to our lovely chocolatey egg mixture. Now again, why are we folding this in? Because once you have all of the egg whites nice and aerated like this, if you just kind of go in and mix them up a little bit too much, you lose a lot of that fluffiness and they just kind of just end up deflating. So we're going to incorporate this nice and slowly, but making sure that it's all being mixed in together. And then these are going to go into a sprayed mini cheesecake pan to hopefully hold a little bit of their shape and get a nice rise out of it. Okay, and these are gonna go in at 325 for about 15 or so minutes, and we'll see them when they're done. I think it's also important to point out that there's actually no extra sugar being put into this recipe either. So the only sugar that you're getting is going to be from that semi-sweet chocolate. So they're not going to be overly sweet. Hopefully it'll just be a nice little decadent bite. Fingers crossed. Look at how good these turned out. Don't worry, cracks on the top, they're supposed to look like that. So I think they'll probably deflate just a little bit, but we'll let them cool before we can take them out. But I am super happy with how nice these rose. Oh, and they smell so good. So I took them out of the tray. They are a little wonky looking. They kind of look like little mushrooms. But they are lovely and fluffy and cakey, and that is exactly the texture that I was looking for. So I'll probably bring these into work on Tuesday or something. I don't know. We'll find out. But in the meantime, have a great Sunday and have a great week.